Oops, sugar. Hello, hello, hello. Say hi when you're coming in. I doubt there'll be many people because I know everyone else is live, but I'll just do it as it's already done, just a video if it's not. So it'll be fine. Hi. Hi everybody. Welcome. We're doing a video on the James Bulger murder. I am going to say that it's going to be a bit, you know, it can be a bit of a trigger warning on this, obviously for the subject. What I did was I did a video, and then I thought, rather than uploading it or premiering it, because then we can't really talk about it, is that I'll do it like this, and then I can always pause it if people got questions, or I can put more in if need be. Do you know what I mean? Because this is my third video, so you know, don't expect it to be perfect, because it's really not going to be. I can try my best is all I can do for obvious reasons, but I am going to try my best. But I'll just give it one more minute. Sorry, I'm super shaky today, so my legs super shaky, my hands are super shaky, but I just thought this would be a dead interesting story for everybody. And again, don't expect it to be perfect. I've worked super hard on it, but it's still not going to be anywhere near freaking perfect. Like, it really, really isn't. It's going to be like me trying my best. But we can try. I can just try, and it'll probably be a little bit better than the next time, and the time before that, and the time before that. So I'll start momentarily, just sort of making sure, because it only just turned 8, and I did say 8, so I wanted to give it a minute or two to get on with it. But hopefully people will enjoy the story behind it, and just such tragedy. Hopefully it will figure it all out. Hi everyone, hi. Just a few more minutes and then I will start the stream. If anyone wants me to stop the stream or rewind it or show a bit again or explain it a little better, just let me know in the chat and we can go from there. This is such a sad case for the victims and the ones who did it. I agree, Layla. It was just, I still, up until like right at the time, I literally didn't believe it. I was like, no way, just no way But I agree, it was such a horrific, but it was one of those cases that I think everybody who heard about it was just horrified. Like, there's just no way. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to start it. If anybody wants me to stop, just let me know. Tell me if the volume's okay, you know. I haven't heard this case before. Oh, you're in for it. So tell me if it's too loud or too quiet. Just let me know. Hi guys, welcome back. I want to put a little trigger warning on this stream that we're about. I do, Layla, purely because of the nature of the video. I was 15. Obviously I wanted 15 and pregnant, and I thought recording it this way I can then stop the video during the live and answer any questions that you may have. I've done like 48 hours of research on this, so I hope that it comes out as better than the last time. I'm obviously still learning, so it's going to be nowhere near perfect, but I'm trying my best. So I'm just going to start the intro and we will get on with it. But again, you know, during the time of the video, you know, I can stop. It's your channel about true crime. I'm hoping to have it more about crime, to be honest. So this is the intro. So, as you can see, this is going to be the James Bulger case. If you're not familiar, I'm going to try my best, obviously, to get everything in the correct order, you know, dates and stuff and everything like that, but I'm going to try my best. So this is James Bulger. He was 2, coming up to 3. He went on a shopping trip with his mum to a local, what Americans would call a shopping mall. To this point, he was with Denise. They were just genuinely shopping around. Denise went into a local butcher's. When they were in the butcher's, he was, as she said, just sort of playing around around her legs. She took her eyes off him for, you know, not even a minute, probably 2 minutes max. During this time, he had disappeared. So clearly she was freaking out, you know, running around looking for him. All of the shoppers, security guards, etc. were also around looking for him, thinking that he had just wandered off, gone into another shop, or, you know, not really thinking anything too majorly bad, I suppose, to just like, as toddlers do, they get distracted, they can see a puppy and boom, they're gone. Speaking of puppies, my dog is barking, but anyway, during this sort of time then, they sort of went back over, and just like you guys, I'm guessing here as well, we have CCTV in our shopping centres. So Denise and the security guard, as well as police officers that were called, went over the CCTV within the shopping centre to discover James, this is James here, being led away by two young boys. It looks like the darker haired boy, who we later discover is John Venables, and this is Robert Thompson. At this point, I genuinely believe nobody really thought anything still is going to be that bad. I don't think they really thought, you know, oh, they're just young boys, they're probably just like taking him around or like teasing him, or do you know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody, even the officers, and Denise spoke later on it and said, I saw that CCTV and in some weird way it made me feel better, thinking, you know, two young boys, surely nothing's gonna happen. During this time, obviously they still could not find James Bulger. They looked everywhere. As you can see, you know, this was in 1993. CCTV wasn't like it is today, that it is as clear as day as it was sort of back then. You know, you can clearly see that these children are not very tall, they're not very, you know, they're not grown. And I remember this in 1993. I was 15, and I remember this story, and I genuinely was like, there's no way, you know, two kids are not going to abduct a baby. They're taking him to an adult. And like, I remember sitting there with my mum and saying, there's no way, there's just no way that two babies could do this to another baby. Clearly they didn't find baby James. 2 days later, on Valentine's Day, which is just such, like, not that any day is a good day to find a child deceased, but Valentine's Day, geez, man, I just, like, poor Denise. 2 days later, he was found on the railway tracks, 2.5 miles away from the shopping centre that he was abducted. He was found decapitated. He had in total 42 injuries to his body, 10 of which were fractured skulls. Fracture to his skull. This one's a super hard one for me. I remember it so clearly. Like, I can't even imagine what the parents and families are going through. So I'm going to apologise now for saying I'm stopping a lot, because this is, you know, it is very much of a trigger for a lot of people where children are concerned. So Valentine's Day comes along, they find James. I think 3 or 4 young lads found him on the track, freaked them out, they rang the police, obviously discovered then that it was baby James. 60 young people were arrested and interviewed during this time. You know, a lot of young lads, you know, who are, how should I put it, sort of mischievous around the area, were interviewed, all released without charge. Clearly they were not guilty. They're all around the 17th of February. A few people had said about these 2 young lads that are always skipping school, that you know, quote unquote naughty boys and bad kids and so on. A detective then went to, I'm here at MD. This part is pre-recorded just because it would have been a little easier for me, but I can stop and pause and talk if anybody needs to. Robert's house, and during this time he went there and he answered the door. Robert Thompson, let me just this is Robert Thompson, this is John Venables. So Robert Thompson is a 10-year-old lad. They both, to be fair, had very, very hard upbringings to even though at the age of 10, both had parents that were divorced sort of within the last year before this incident happened. Robert Thompson, I give a bit of a backstory on these boys, just purely to maybe get a little bit more of an understanding on them. So Robert Thompson lived with his mum. His mum, I believe, I could be wrong on time, so I think it was like 4 to 5 months before this incident. Oh my goodness. Robert's dad left the home for another woman. Robert's mum at that point clearly took it very, very hard and not necessarily tried to neglect the children. You know, they were clean and tidy, but on the same token is maybe not show them right from wrong and all what's right with them and with the family home. She was in a bad way. On to John Venables. He, out of the two, for me, and this is my opinion, there are so many different opinions out there, but for me, John Venables was the one and continues, this is John Venables, continues to be the one that I think is the ringleader. He had so much of a troubled childhood, to the fact at the age of 10, he was already been expelled from a school and had to go to a different school, inevitably where he met Robert Thompson, to try to get him to go to school, I suppose. And later on, his mum did state, I wanted to call the police because these boys at 10 years of age, like 10 years of age, was out till midnight, not going to school. Like their parents were dropping him, their mums was dropping him in one gate and they were walking out to the other gate and leaving. But they were so scared to call the police on their children in case social services come in and caused uproar. And I kind of understand that. I don't know about your guys' social services or whatever they're called over where you guys are. Our social services back then in the 90s wasn't the best. Like they didn't, like nowadays they do try and help families, they try and give a lot more support. Back then they would just rip the kids, like not try and help or anything. So I kind of get it, even though, you know, this could have been, phoning the police and having the social service involvement could have been, say, a saviour for that baby. But again, you know, we don't really have full impact of what that or what their upbringing had. Do I think they would have done anything separately? I don't know. John Venables, I think so. Obviously there's more to come about him. Robert Thompson, I don't know. I don't know if he hadn't have met John Venables, whether he would have took a different path in life. But who knows? So there's a little bit of backstory on them. So detectives go. I like it. So Joe can pop to answer questions, but also have the organised script to follow. Yeah, exactly, MD. And at the end, I got some bits that I didn't put on here that we can go through together, like things that happened, like via the internet and stuff like that, which is super, super interesting. But I thought I'd do that afterwards with you, and I'll put myself properly on screen after this. It's like only another like 30 minutes. I did try and condense it as much as I could, but try being the operative word. One set is sent to Venables, another set is sent to Thompson. The detective walks into Thompson's house, gets down to sort of eye level, as everyone does with children, and say, do you know why I'm here? And he just sort of looked at the officer. The officer said, I'm here about James Bulger. To which Thompson replied, yeah, I know. At that point, he arrests him, reads him his Miranda rights, and says, you know, you have to come to the police station with us. They are then taken off to the police station. Over the next, week, just under a week, I think, 5 days, 6 days. Just under that time, you know, there was lots and lots of hours of interviews. At the beginning, John Venables was in complete denial, you know, swearing on his mum's life. I swear to you, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. Robert was half and half. One minute he was like, I'm sorry, and then the next minute, I didn't do anything. He was a little more scared than Venables was at this time. Came to the point that Thompson told the officers exactly what had happened, which is still not true. He didn't tell him exactly what happened, but gave him enough information to know that what he's saying was the truth. At this point, he explains that they took the little boy, they walked him 2.5 miles to the rail track. Before they got to the rail track, they stopped at a little reen, like a little river, and told James to look because they thought that he would fall in and drown, which clearly he didn't. They then walked him off to the railway track. During this time, 38 people came forward and said, I saw the young boys with the baby. One did actually say to the boys, oh boys, what's going on? And the boys, I believe that it was John Venables, said, it's my baby brother, he fell over and we're taking him home. So at this point, they get to the railway track. According to Robert Thompson, they kept throwing rocks at him, and he said in his own words, he wouldn't stay down. He wouldn't stay down. They wanted him to stay down, but the baby kept getting back up. He wouldn't stay down. During this time, neither of us neither have admitted this, and I'm guessing neither will, to be fair, ever. But during this time, baby James was sexually assaulted with a battery. Obviously, we don't really need to go much further than that with that part. There were 22 bricks that had been thrown at him that had blood on, that wasn't splatter, as in like it wasn't blood that just squirted on, it was blood that actually hit him in the head. They used a 22-pound metal pipe then to kill him. After they'd left him for dead, basically, whether we still don't know how long, you know, whether he was still alive when they were there, whether they left him for dead, or nobody will know that, and they're obviously not going to say. At some point during the 12th and the 14th, James Bulger got hit by a train, to which that just, obviously a baby of 2, you know, there's a train via baby, the baby's going to lose. The pathologist stated that the baby was definitely deceased before the train. but how long before and when the train, there is still no, we obviously know it's between those 48 hours of being taken and being found, but we still don't know. But the baby was completely decapitated. On the 22nd, then both boys were charged with the murder of James Bulger. They were put in front of a judge here. Again, I think it's pretty much similar to the UK and to the US. In the UK, you have to be put in front of the judge, and then the judge will tell you whether they are held on remand, whether they're in remand means in custody until the trial, or whether they're released. There is no bond or anything like that. You can't pay to be released, even if it was £1 million. You just can't. During during this time in the court, the judge made somewhat of non-heard in British history that the boys' names would be released. With America, we're not trusted to have people's names that hurt children, purely that we don't take kindly to that kind of thing in the UK. So we haven't got laws that we can ring up and find out if our neighbours are on the offenders register or anything like that. We just can't do it. But he decided to put the boys' names and photos out, but on the understanding and put a law to it that the boys' pictures and no further information about the boys will ever be released, i.e. no pictures, no where they're living now, they can change they've changed their names, etc. But even their faces are going to change from 10 to 18. So during this time, this is where they were going to court. It's so hard to understand how people can get so mad at 10-year-olds, but when you think what the 10-year-olds had done, people were outraged in the UK. They were trying, there were so many police, they were trying to get to the van. In the back of the van would have been one of the boys. I don't obviously know which one, or it could have been both of them, but they were trying to get to them at this time, and they wanted them destroyed, but they all said as well that why? Because even at this point, for me, even after they were charged, I know myself, my mum, a lot of our family were all talking about it for the longest time. I'm like, there's just no way. I was adamant there was no way 2 10-year-old boys could do what they did to this baby. I was adamant. I was convinced. There's no way. There's, they took him to an adult. These boys have been groomed to go and find another baby. All these stories were coming out, and in reality, it wasn't true. These boys did do that, which is incredible. But they were held on remand. The trial started on the 1st of November. Now, this trial was a lot different to a normal trial, I suppose we would say it, as this trial really wasn't about guilt or innocence. We knew that they had done it. This was about, in UK law, between the ages of 10 and 14, the courts and police don't know whether at that age, whether they know right from wrong, basically. Now, I think this law is crap. I'm sorry, but I do. Even a 10-year-old knows, you're not allowed to go and kill a baby. Do you know what I'm saying? So in that sort of sense, it was a bit of a farce, if I'm honest, but it's a law we have in the UK. I can't, nobody can go against that law. The law's the law. So it really was just, was these boys capable of understanding that what they did was terribly wrong? Okay, so, again, I really do think so. Whilst they were held on remand, they were both given therapy, which kind of screwed them over in a sense, as the therapist, they both suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder from what happened, which inevitably proved their guilt, as they did know right from wrong, as in if they knew that it wasn't wrong, they wouldn't have any guilt. Do you know what I'm saying? So it came out as that. So during the trial, they were sat very closely to their parents, but they were still in what we call it is a dock. It's a secure area where, murderers, rapists, all these kind of things sit there. So they sort of sat there. They had to be put on higher chairs just to be able to see over the dock and see the judge, etc. During this time, the boys were 11 at this point. So during the trial, there was lots of back and forth, witnesses kept being pulled up, and I think a lot of people who saw those boys on that frightful day are going to be feeling very, very guilty, and probably feel very, very guilty for the rest of their lives. But again, in that sort, I was 15, right, at that time. I remember as a child being told, don't talk to strange men. Don't talk to strange men. Nowadays, I tell my nieces and nephews, don't talk to anybody. If we go anywhere, we have a point. Like, if you get lost, you find this point and you come back and you stand there and you don't talk to anybody. You wait for me to come back and I will find you. Back then, it wasn't, and you certainly didn't expect 10-year-olds to do anything like this. So it was a bit of an outrage and a bit of guilt, I'm sure, on those 38 people that did pass by and not do anything. But I genuinely just think, I don't believe for 1 second they should feel guilt. How on earth are you meant to know this? Do you know, it's incredible how you were meant to know this. During this, sorry, that was the baby. This is Dominic Lloyd. Dominic Lloyd was Robert Thompson's solicitor. This is Lawrence Lee. He was Venable's solicitor. So during the trial, it lasted till November 22nd. November 22nd rolled around and they both were found guilty. They were both found guilty. They were both sentenced to, or we're allowed by law to sentence them to. Okay? Can it be overturned? Yeah, I will go into that a little bit further in a minute. But generally, that's all that they can. That's all that can be done, is that, until they're 18. So they were sentenced. The judge said that they're evil and barbaric. In the judgment, your conduct was both cunning and very wicked. and sentenced them both to serve until they were 18 in a youth offenders unit. I'm going to go into a bit of this youth offenders unit because, to be honest, it's crap. Like these boys went to youth offenders, right, where they'd been for the last year. They were separated, so clearly they went to this youth offenders unit. They were in a house, basically, kinda. It's like, how can I explain it? There's 8 separate bedrooms, okay? They're all locked, so it is very much as a cell as such, but they got curtains. Robert Thompson had a Liverpool bed set. He had his TV, he had his PlayStation, you know, very much luxuries. The only difference is they did have to go to school because obviously they were banged up, and they were given structure. Again, that was the only difference. These units are, I don't want to say they're a joke, because I'm sure they are for some people a godsend, and makes them, you know, make them realize that, crap man, you know, you can't do shit done just because you're a child and get away with it. Saying that until they're 18, that's no actual jail time. That's none. They're in a unit where they're being treated very, very nicely. Within this time, they get day trips out, they go to the football matches, they go shopping in the shopping centre that they murdered. They took this little boy. You know, there was outrage, complete outrage about it all. But you know, there was a lot that, like, why weren't they allowed to go further? Why shouldn't it be that they shouldn't have to serve some time in jail? In 1997, so what, 4 years later, Denise and the mum and the father of the little boy decided that it was just not right, that these boys should serve real jail time, and given some punishment, because what they're doing and what they had right now was not punishment, you know. So they went to the higher courts and asked them if they could up it to 15 years minimum that they both serve, rather than the 8, so that at 18 they could be moved to a maximum security, a Cat A. Sorry. It was granted at that time, but I think it was like 3 months later it was overturned again and said no, they have every right to leave when they turn 18, you know, and learn by their mistakes, blah blah blah. Okay, that's just crap. That's absolutely crap. Like, John Venables and Robert Thompson, like, were allowed to cook their family meals when their family went to visit them in this unit. They have not served time in any jails for this crime. So it comes then to 2001. They're both released. They are both released with new identities, for starters. So their whole family, their immediate family, mums, dad, etc., get new identities, which cost the taxpayers in the UK over £200,000. That's like $100,000. That's an insane amount of money. Okay, they also were released on life license, which in the UK, a life license means that, or meant to mean, I should say, that if you get into any shit, Venables should never have been released. I know you'll cover that, which was always been odd to me, because I was convinced Thompson was the ringleader. Now see, I was the opposite. I always thought it was Venables that was the ringleader, but a lot of people were the same as you, Melanie. There's only 10 minutes, and then we can talk
get
more.
in trouble, if you are dumb, you are going to go back to jail, and there is no if buts or.
Did these kids have any of psychological tests in there? They did. They both went through a lot of therapy and different things. Neither had like any conditions of any shape or form. It was just ridiculous, ridiculous.
Maybes. Allegedly, this is how that's supposed to work. Upon their release, there is not much about Robert. Robert Thompson, he was released, he had a new name, a new life. He, from what I can make out, has got out and tried his best, to live a normal life after what he had done. He did say at some point, that he is not obviously glad that he did what he did, but he's glad that he was in the unit and that he gave him the structure and the education that he absolutely needed. Other than that, all that's really out about Robert Thompson is he's been in a long-term relationship with his boyfriend. He's, very happy in his relationship with his boyfriend. There's not really that much out there. There was once that somebody was saying, about him having a traffic offence. We all have traffic offences. I don't, because I don't drive, but there's lots of people have traffic offences. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person. But 27 years later, we still not heard much about Robert Thompson. John Venables, on the other hand, there is a lot. He got out of jail in 2000. I'm not even going to say jail because it wasn't jail. He got out of the unit in 2001. By 2008, he was charged with a fray. I don't know whether anybody knows what a fray is. I will explain it quickly. A fray means it's quite a serious crime in the UK. It's like threatening and like say I come to one of your houses, or even online, and I threaten somebody that I'm gonna come to your house and I'm gonna beat you and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. That's a fray, and it's a serious crime in the UK. It is a very serious crime. This was after a pub fight that necessarily got out of hand. Again, I don't know whether it did get out of hand or what happened. Nobody's really going to know. Charges were dropped later that month, but he clearly didn't learn his lesson. 3 months later, he got a possession charge of cocaine. Again, he did not get sent back to jail. Both of these are breaching his license. Both are breaching his license, but for some reason they didn't send him back to jail. He was, however, sent back to jail in 2010. It stated at the time, I obviously have more info now, but it stated at the time that he had breached his license. And he went to a real jail this time for 3 years. Now, the breach of a license could be literally anything. They really wasn't given much details. A breach of the license could mean that he went back to Merseyside, as he's not allowed to. A breach of the license could mean he spoke to Thompson, which he's not allowed to, or contacted the family again, which he's not allowed to. Drugs, anything. We later found out it was surrounding the drugs, but there was stuff on his computer that let's say, you can figure it out what it is, you know. So he went to jail for 3 years. He came out in 2013 to breach again in 2017. Again, more images were found to be dating a lot of young girls. The most scary story that came out during that time is he was dating a 20-something, early 20s year old. She clearly didn't know who he was, but she had a 5-year-old. So social services, the police were very concerned about that. And he was like, no, I've not been near the child. I haven't been near the child. Again.
Yeah, Melanie, we were on about that earlier. Like, I was convinced as well. Like, I was literally convinced that he had charges. But all the research I've done, I cannot find anything. I cannot find anything. But whether they hid it, I don't know. But I can't say he did if he... No, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Who knows what's true and who knows what's not true where this is all concerned. You know, the fact that he's dating in his, you know, what, 20s, he's dating 17-year-old girls. Is that just because he's not grown up? Is that because...
It's weird, isn't it? Because I literally, Carl and I was talking about it, and I was like, I was adamant that he had done something. I didn't think that it was as bad as obviously Venables, but I was convinced that Thompson had done something after his release. But I searched high and low, and I could not find anything. I think it's crazy.
Did just, you know, being in a institute and in a unit, did he's still, you know, very behind on his ability to be an adult? I don't know. And to be fair, I'm not sure I'd even like to judge, if I'm honest. He at this point was like heavily into drugs and drinking, and so I'm guessing that's where all the charges have come from. But still, to, you know, this lad clearly didn't learn his lesson. So the unit, you know, worked potentially for Thompson, not for Venables. Again, I'm guessing it is a bit of a crapshoot with these kind of institutes, to whether because they are so light and it is like a home from home, and that whether they work enough. You know, it's all about rehabilitation, not punishment. And for me personally, I would have liked to seen them both have a little bit of punishment for what they done. But that's just me. Again, you know, he goes on to do a lot, and I mean an absolute lot. I think I'll wait for these bits, and I will read these ones live about things that went on during the aftermath of this, something that I can get into with you guys, you know, about all the different stuff that happened after, because there is absolutely so much. It's scary. It really is scary to think how much this lad have done after being released. He was definitely not reformed. He, unlike Robert Thompson, he, you know, appreciated, I suppose, his new identity.
What he did to James obviously affected John way more, for him to be into CP. Yeah, exactly that. And like at the beginning, I just thought they were both as bad as each other, if I'm honest. I genuinely went with the more that John was a little more hardened just by the interviews, and like I don't know if you remember the interviews, but Thompson was a lot more upset, and I don't know, it was a weird,
he found a boyfriend, settled down, and was very much out of the way. But this lad obviously didn't. I just want to go back to this one. For all said and done, people remember their names. I think for me, I was 15 at this time. I will always remember the James Bulger case. The James Bulger case was the first massive case I even took note in, or took any kind of interest in, you know? It was the first one that I was like, no, there's no way. Was I wrong, boy? But, you know, say a little prayer for this little man. It's been 27 years, you know, he would be 29 now, 29, 30. It's a lot, it's such a lot. His parents ended up divorcing, both remarried and had more children with separate partners. But that's a lot for any parents to go through, the loss of a child, and really then have to deal with the aftermath as well. So I'm going to leave it there, but I'm going to be chatting to you guys now live. If you have any questions, I have all my notes. I'm willing to find the answer for you. And let's just remember this little guy, and for what he is and how cute he is, and for that terrible, terrible tragedy that lost this little baby his life. Anyway, I will talk to you now in the chat, and I shall so that's the James Bulger case. It really was, for me, maybe because of my age, you know, it was the first one that I really was emotionally invested in, and the first one that I very much took note of. You know, again, I don't know if that is the case of things with, you know, Robert Thompson, whether he did not do any more crime. I personally couldn't find anything. You know, I haven't read all the books clearly, but I was adamant that he had, but there was nothing at all that I could find. A lot of stuff happened after this, due to their age. Obviously, as I said in the video, the judge had stated very, very clearly and very adamantly that these boys were not to have their pictures put out there by any newspapers, any reporters of any shape or form, you know? And people were doing it, and obviously this is why we can't be trusted with a sex offenders register. Bob says, poor sweet baby, tragic case. It was such a tragic case. It was the most horrific case. It really, just nobody expects a baby, I think, you know, nobody expects 2 10-year-old boys to kill a baby. James Bulger, Eye of a Detective, really great documentary on YouTube. I believe you done, Rob. I don't think he's broken his license. Yeah, there were many leaks
real and fake. That is very true. In your country, their juvenile records can be held against them in adults. No, once they're although with these two is a little different. Say I did something as a juvenile, it would be wiped when I'm 18. These two are somewhat different because of their crime. They're on a license for life, so not necessarily the crime will come back. So say they're in front of a judge, or you know, another court case comes up, it won't necessarily come up of who they are, but it'll be a case that they're on life license. Do you know what I'm saying? So because their identities are so wrapped up. Your sex offender? No, our register is not. We can't be trusted, especially in Wales. We cannot be trusted with that kind of information. I'll give you a little hint of why we can't be trusted with that kind of information, right? Where I grew up on an estate, we call them here, okay? Where I grew up, there was some dumbass that thought that somebody had said about this man that he was a P, which in reality, he was a pediatrician, right? This poor guy had his house petrol bombed because they thought he was a nonce. And it was like, holy crap, like, no, he's not a nonce. He's a fucking pediatrician, you dumbass. But this is why we can't be trusted. We cannot be trusted with stuff like that. It would be bad. We don't take kindly. And most of the boys in like these estates will do the time. They don't give a shit. They will do the time. And our justice systems really sucks, guys. Like, it really does. You can, like, you could do that. One of my friends, right, Bonesy, he put a petrol bomb in his car and put the gas down, so the car went and blew up the police station, right? He only got 4 years on one day. That's all he got. So our justice system is shit. So we will go and hurt them. Oh my God, I don't get my computer to see sex offenders that lives within 5 miles of my house, every single one of them. Yeah, no, we definitely can't be trusted with that kind of information. There is no way that we will be trusted with that kind of information. Yeah, that is definitely a plus for you guys. I wish we could, and I wish we could be trusted. I really do wish we could be trusted, but unfortunately some of these boys and men, no. In an estate where I grew up, there is no way that, like, and I'm guessing like where Melanie's parents grew up as well, if they knew that a nonce lived 2 doors away from them, they wouldn't live there for long. I don't know how much details you went into earlier. I'll rewatch later by some of the things they did to James before the train. I did go into a little bit. I didn't go in too much. I did go in about the battery and the pipe and stuff like that, but I didn't really go. I kind of did fly over it, I suppose. I didn't really go into exactly how much he was assaulted. Where I live, it's exactly what they were charged with. Where I live, it says exactly what they were charged with. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I grew up on an estate too. You understand what I'm saying though, Melanie? Like, we can't be trusted with that kind of information. Like, imagine your father back in the day, like somebody living on the estate when you were that little, and being like known, they had that on record and he could see it in front of him. Your dad and a couple of the boys, just like my daddy would have, he wouldn't be there. He would be gone. He would be moving out, or worse. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't. So sad, beyond horrific. Yeah, I did go into it. I flew over it a little bit, to be honest. I'm not even going to deny it. I did fly over that kind of bit. I went in depth with it on my notes, but then when I got to the video, I decided to just sort of fly over that bit a little bit quick. No way. No, they wouldn't last. They wouldn't last 2 minutes on an estate. But there's things here that I want to sort of go over as well, which I found later on. I told you guys that it was put out and against the law, like there would be serious consequences if people put out anything about the Thompson and Venables. Yeah, it's too upsetting. Yeah, exactly. But there's one that I want to tell you about. Where is it? Oh yeah, that was it. At one point, Denise Ferguson, her name is now because she's remarried, but James's mum was having emails, inboxes on Facebook saying that they were the ghost of James and pretty much tormenting her and sort of what do they call it? Like annoying her and trying to like get a reaction and stuff from her. And he got caught and he was actually sentenced to 3 years in jail. There has been lots and lots and lots of people. On the 10th of April 2010, a 19-year-old man from the Isle of Wight was given 3 months suspended sentence for falsely claiming to be Facebook messaging one of his former colleagues was Robert Thompson in passing sentence. In March 2012, a 26-year-old man, Lancashire man, after allegedly setting up a Facebook group titled "What Happened to James Was Effing Hilarious." Who sets up a page saying "What happened to James is effing hilarious"? Oh my good God. The man's computer was seized for further investigation. I'd like to know what happened to that man. On the 25th of February, the Attorney General announced that they were instituting the court proceedings against several people for outing who they were. I don't know whether you know who Tina Malone is, but actress Tina Malone, I think she's from Shameless, but I'm not 100% sure, was given an 8-month suspended prison sentence for posting Venables' identity on Facebook. In January 2020, so just recently, a 53-year-old woman from Annaford received a prison sentence of 8 months, suspended for 15 months in November 2017 for the publishing an alleged photograph of Venables on Facebook with the advice, share this as much as possible. Oh my God. The thing is, I get it. I do. I get it. Like, I understand people wanting to get justice. I don't want people to get into trouble. I don't want people to go to jail for it or have suspended sentences that, in the UK, I'm not sure about in America, but it does have an impact on your work. If you have a criminal record, it really does have an impact on your work. And sometimes they won't even if you tick the box, yes, I have a criminal record. I have friends who have got criminal records. They're not bad criminal records. I think one was for possession when she was like 17. Another one was fighting when she was like 21. And this was like she would have been, what, how old am I? So it was a couple of years ago, say 37 at the time, and she didn't get her promotion because of that stuff came up. That's horrible that Denise had to deal with that crap. I'm so glad he didn't have the net back then. The press was huge. Yeah, my God, can you imagine? It was just so unheard of. And it genuinely, like, I'm not even joking, it genuinely shocked me that so many, and I mean so many people, were trying to put his picture out. And I do get it, because parts of me, the nosy part of me, does want to know what he looks like. I really do. I'm dying. Like, I'd love to know. But on the other parts of me, I'm like, can we really be trusted with that? At least we don't have felonies, though. Joe, I've always been very thankful for that. That's true. Yeah, that is true. But it does have an impact, like, you know, not all the time, obviously, but it does have an impact with work. And, like, my friend was gutted. She'd been in this company for, oh my God, good 10 years, maybe longer than that, actually. And she just couldn't get a promotion because something was on her record from when she was, like, I think it was like 16, 17. She had the drug possession, and it was just a bit of marijuana. And at 21, she got arrested for affray and disorderly conduct and ABH. The ABH was dropped, and she got charged with the affray, and she got a fine and suspended, I think it was. But like all those years, like earlier, never even had a speeding ticket since 21. It's just like so crazy. It really is, like, absolutely insane. The thing is, I think people, like, I thought people wouldn't want to put his picture out, but it seems like people here are really willing to do the time and not even care about it. You know, they genuinely want them to pay for their crimes. And although I do understand it, and I hope I'm right, as in, like, Robert Thompson, I hope I'm right. I hope he didn't do anything, you know. I can't find anything, so I can't say that he did. And could the government be, you know, hiding it? Absolutely. But again, it's just crazy. Felons can be pardoned and removed, rare, but they can be. Military felons are easy to get removed. Oh yeah, none are perfect, that's for sure. That's true. Thing is, I do think our justice system sucks. I really, really do. Like, in our country, and Melanie will know this as well, like, in our country, I would get more time for beating someone up than a nonce would for affecting a child's life forever. That's just crazy to me. It's absolutely insane. Like, say I went to, Melanie's in the UK, so I'm going to use Melanie as an excuse. I went to Melanie's house, we had a fight, and say, her or I knocked the other one out, right? The one who was knocked out and got injured, the other one would be arrested. They would be charged with affray and assault and, you know, ABH or, you know, all this stuff, and get, what, 6 to 12 months in jail. A nonce will get 3 months suspended for 6, or they will get 6 months after do like 8 weeks. And it's like, what the actual fuck? Like, so two bitches just having a little scrap that will get over it in a couple of days and not even care can get 8 to 12 months in jail. It's crazy. Has no thing. Very, very true. It is. It's crazy. It doesn't, that does not make sense to me. I watched a documentary. I have to try and find it and send you the link at some point, maybe next time in chat, Melanie. I found a link, and it was interviews in jail, and this man was sat on his bed, and he basically was saying, he was up for parole, so it must have been the US, and he was saying, if I get released, I'm going to do it again. I don't want to leave jail. Fancy making a coffee, Robert, in a minute. Yeah. And he was genuinely saying, like, I don't want to be released. I'm scared that I'll do it again. I don't want to hurt any more kids. And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, why am I feeling bad for this man? But I genuinely did. I was like, he is telling you, like, I will do this again. Like, do not release me. And they're like, oh, well, nothing we can do. You're gone. We have convicted murderers that serve less time than someone on a drug charge. I saw a documentary about that, Dove. I genuinely, not so long ago actually, that there were cellies. One did like, I think he murdered like 3 people in like a shootout or something. And he had less time than the bloke that was carrying a couple of pounds of coke. Military is very different to civil war. Yeah, I don't really know much about military law. I will admit, not that I know much about civil law either, but I do know more than I do about military law. But the things that's crazy to me is like the aftermath of these kids, like, you know, they're just, it's absolutely crazy. It says here, in late June 2019, it was reported that British officials had considering resettling Venables in either Canada, Australia or New Zealand due to the high costs behind protecting his anonymity. British authorities had repeatedly spent $65,000 in legal fees to keep Venables' identity a secret. In response to media coverage, New Zealand Prime Minister remarked that Venables would never an exception under the Immigration Act, that he should not bother applying. The justice is screwed up here in the States. Unfortunately, I have more than care about military law. I don't know much about it, I really don't. So many fearful of leaving prison, and that's whatever reason they can't handle the outside world. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, my friend's in jail now at the moment, and he's one of my oldest and best friends. He's doing time. He got 18 months. He was obviously hoping to get down to a Cat D and be out soon, but with the virus stuff going on, he's obviously been on lockdown, and they're not doing any changeovers, so he's just been stuck in his cell 23 hours a day. I don't even want to go into too much detail, but he should be released now in the next 3-4 months ish. But by this time, he was hoping that he would be in a Cat D and be in a lower and have more releases, that he could come out on day release and stuff like that. What? Send Venables off to abuse another country's children, or another country should pay for his costs? What BS. Exactly what it just said. And literally New Zealand's Prime Minister remarked that don't even bother applying, he will not be accepted. The problem with that though is the Prime Minister of New Zealand can say this all he wants, they're not going to know. The movie Shawshank Redemption shows some people never want to leave prison. Yeah, I love that film. That's one of my favourite films. Shawshank Redemption is like one of my absolute all-time faves. I watch it so much. There's like a few films that you end up watching over and over. Mine's The Craze, Shawshank, Beaches, Interview with the Vampire. And there's another one. A Few Good Men. It is like that. Movies that I tend to go to when I just want to chill out. If I'm not feeling good, I'll tend to put them kind of movies on because I know it word for word. Yes, please. Thank you so much. Oh, The Green Mile. Yeah, that's not one that I will generally go to over and over though, but I do love the film. I more go to Shawshank than the thing. Such a good movie, Shawshank. It really is. Shawshank Redemption is an amazing film. And I love it when when the officers beat up his abuser. I love that bit. I'm like, yeah, go. Like, don't f with me. Mine too, I love that film. Oh my god, I love The Craze too, the 90s one. Oh my god, yeah, the 90s one. I don't like the newer ones. I like the Kemps doing it. It's my favourite. I'm going to do the Craze Brothers on this channel as well, Melanie. Shutter Island is a good too. I've never heard of that one. I'm going to have a look. Shutter Island. Never had a look. Yeah, I'm going to do the Craze on here. I was thinking about reading a book of it on here, but I'm not sure because it would take like a good few times. I never watched that one. I'll have a look. I'll be here for that. And I also want to do Moore's Murders and Fred and Rose as well. They're the ones that I want to do over the next couple of weeks. Fred and Rose, I know loads already about it, so that won't take long to do all the research because it wasn't far from me growing up, so we knew a lot. Obviously, it was only Gloucester, so it wasn't that far from where I grew up. So I do know a lot about them. Moore's Murders, again, I've read the books and stuff, but I'd still have to do the research. Joe, did you look into the one case I sent you? Yeah, I did. I started actually doing research on it, but then this came up and I was like, oh my god, I want to do this one now. There's a few, honestly, I want to do, but I reckon if we do like one a week or something like that of these and do it how I just did it then. Oh, I think I have watched that one. I think I'm lying.
You always say that. It's not that you're lying.
No, she just said that, the Leonardo thing. I said, actually, I think I'm lying. I think I do remember.
About the guy on the airplane?
The Shutter Island.
Yeah.
I think I have watched that. I thought I hadn't heard of it, and then when she just said Leonardo DiCaprio, I was like...
Shutter Island was on recently. Or
yeah, I'm lying. I think I've watched that.
Not lying, you just don't remember.
Well, now I remember because she just said that.
Yeah, but there's different ones that you within Shutter Island.
I know, I remember something like that with Leonardo DiCaprio, so I reckon...
It's not the one for the...
Yeah, so I might have lied and I might not have. I don't know, I'm still not sure. I might have lied. If you do the Moors, that would take a few times to cover. Yeah, the Moors Murders was massive. It's such... And again, with the aftermath of the Moors Murders, you know, there was so much with the aftermath of the Moors Murders. And I've got someone who worked their whole career, their whole adult career in Broadmoor, who's going to give me some insight into Broadmoor, which was where a few of these more notorious killers in UK history are actually housed. So, you know, she'll give me some insight. She obviously can't give me names and details, clearly, because of because it's just not worth it, you know what I'm saying? but it will for sure be interesting. Good choice. Sounds like we're both huge on crime. I know by cases were huge in the UK. How about the Yorkshire Ripper? I did the York. Oh no, I did. Yes, I did. Peter Sutcliffe. I've already done that, Melanie. It's on the channel, babe. But yeah, the Yorkshire Ripper is actually already on the channel. But I'm gonna get off. Thanks everyone for joining me. I really appreciate it. And Melanie, you can. I'm on Twitter by my real name. If you wanna message me, and you can possibly help me remember more. You're younger than me. You have a better brain than I do. It'd be good to have some other helps, and if you wanted to like join in on some of these streams, you're more than welcome to come as well and help along. Since you're so into your crimes and you seem like to know what you're talking about, it'd be good to have somebody to bounce off with stuff. So again, thanks everybody for watching, and okay. Yeah, we'd definitely be interested to bounce off. We're both definitely into true crime a lot. Again, thanks everyone. I appreciate you guys. Bye.